Oh, the yachts, suffice to say. Do you remember the yachts? Few people. But we're on the camp stage at the Six Music Festival with Julian Cope. You'll remember the yachts. And Andy McCluskey was with us yesterday. He's saying it's pretty hard to overstate the importance of Eric's in those formative days.
It was the centre. It was the centre because I would say Liverpool is an enclave. It's like, I know because I've hitched all through punk, and trying to hitch into Liverpool is really difficult because everybody's going everywhere else. But that means that when you're in Liverpool, you're safe because it's culturally, like, contained. And what made, I suppose the difference between Liverpool and Manchester is a much bigger city, so it had loads of punk groups, and it had gay clubs, and it had things that came and went. But with Liverpool, the gay club was pretty much Eric's, which was the punk club. So everybody had to sort of, if you were homophobic, you had to just not say anything.
Right.
And all the gays were really tough. So it was a great combination. It was an immediate learning experience. And for me, coming all the way from the Midlands, it was like eye-opening, but it kind of obliged you to be more interesting.
I mean, it's amazing when you look at that pool of people, you know, the Crucial Three, and the people big in Japan, like Brody and Holly and Budgie and Bill Drummond and Pete Byrne. I mean, there was an incredible number of big careers that came out of that scene, wasn't there? Yeah.
I went to the Marlborough Literary Festival last year, and one of the main speakers, who's now the oral historian at the Imperial War Museum, was the lead singer in the Naughty Lumps. until Wiley nicked his bass player. But, you know, he's gone on to write 4 enormous tomes. So that's the thing. When C.G. Jung said that, you know, Liverpool was the pool of life, he's not far wrong.
Yeah, and of course people always want bands to reform from those days now, so people are always asking you, well, why don't you do a Teardrop Explodes tour, which well, I've got some bad news for you. The answer to that is no. However, we are seamlessly going to move to the keyboard.
I'm the world's worst keyboard player, so now I'm putting it off by taking a circuitous route. I'm edging gradually towards this keyboard, this archaic keyboard. And I've even, for the radio audience, the benefit of the radio audience, I brought my Leila Kala chair to show that my metaphor is sound and clear.
So there we go, we've made it. The circuitous route to the keyboard has ended.
Here I am.
There we go. So you're gonna play a Teardrop song for us, aren't you?
I'm gonna play a song. Unfortunately, madam, the solo keyboard version of Reward would appear very underachieving. But I am gonna, I tell you what, I'm gonna play a song from our ignored second album. Because our ignored second album, with hindsight, and loads of it, was really just about my life falling to pieces because of our accidental success. This is a song called Tiny Children.
Time as I sit in disarray, I am thinking of a dream I never had. Then I awake and for a while I call your name in Colin's house. But tiny children have a way of falling down. More vocals, please. Oh, I could make a meal of that wonderful despair I feel, but waking up I turn and face the wall. The car arrives and takes me back again, drifting through imaginary plays and fighting men aboard a raft. The sailing ship has run aground and confidence is valued in these days. But each character is plundering my home and taking everything that is my own. Oh no, I'm not sure about those things that I care about. Oh no, I'm not sure, not anymore. Oh no, I'm not sure about those things that I cared about. Oh no, I'm not sure, not anymore. Thank you.
Tiny children. Why don't you stay there, because we'll do another one quite soon. Pick up the mic. I was expecting to see you with your beloved mellotron, but there've been some mellotron issues at Cope last night, weren't there?
Yeah, I mean, I've been using that mellotron all the time. It's a difficult instrument to travel with, and it's
Well,
almost
it's tape loops, isn't it, on each key?
It started to get very asthmatic last night, and two of the tapes started to kind of like rub together, and yeah, it's a wheezy thing when it's not working.
Were you up into the wee small house with a lump hammer in the back of it then?
Yeah, beating the hell out of it. Yeah.
I thought you had a collection of these things. I thought you had more than one mellotron.
Yeah, I've got a Mellotron 400 which is orange and a Mellotron 400 which is white.
Right.
Unfortunately, they're what American planes were called. They used to call them hangar queens. They spend more of the time with engineers working on them than they actually do up and running.
Right, okay, yeah.
So now what I'm playing at the moment is a very old keyboard that I got off Hungarian eBay.
Do you know, for the keyboard nerds out there, and indeed in here, do you know what it is?
Yeah, it's a CL Orchestra. It's actually Italian, but my wife's part Hungarian, and so just before I made the bid, I obliged her to say, you know, is it good? Is it going to arrive?
And does she have a working knowledge of the keyboards of old Hungary?
Absolutely. She's got the map all around Lake Balaton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that one of the things that first attracted you to her knowledge of the vintage keyboards?
I think it still keeps it going.
That's right. That's good. It's fantastic to have common interests, isn't it? It's so important. But because we're not going to have unlimited time, let's play another song. Are you okay to do another one more or less straight away? What are you going to do for your second one then?
I'm going to do one from Peggy Suicide.
Lovely.
We're going to do Promised Land. The reason I'm doing Promised Land is it's kind of somewhat very now.
Yeah.
Because the difference is whereas this is a song about Margaret Thatcher and the poll tax and what she was doing, Margaret Thatcher was a proactive beast, whereas Theresa May seems to be a kind of a passively proactive beast. She's doing what she's doing almost out of a clerk obligation, you know?
Right.
So anyway, this is Promised Land.
I'm good. I'm here from the BBC, so in the interest of balance, everything he says, exactly the opposite is true.
Promised Land. Could I have the keyboard a lot quieter, please? And I'm gonna have the vocals louder. Could you put the keyboard even quieter, please? I'm out in my walking shoes. I'm walking to my promised land. Been talking and talked to. The devil, he's at my right hand. And Jesus too. Waiting to help and waiting for my answer. Waiting for my prayer to find me there. Promised Land. I'm walking through every shire. I pray that I will be received. The hate that she inspires has to be seen, to be believed, and yet so scared. Witless and wondering, every man is frightened. Praying for enlightened days ahead. Promised Land. Walk on freedom shore. Won't see me again, see me no more. Gone to my promised land. Thank you.
Promised Land, performed live on the Hungarian keyboard by Julian Cope. Where did, in the modern antiquarian and everything, where did all that interest begin? Because I believe you're currently working on something of the stone circles of Aberdeenshire, is it right?
How about this for a catchy title? I'm doing this book called 27 Lesser-Known Stone Circles in Aberdeenshire.
Come on! I mean, if that doesn't hook them, I don't know what will. But, so is Aberdeenshire particularly, a fertile area for the stone circle?
Aberdeen, they were just totally mad for it.
Right.
They were just obsessed.
Plenty of granite there, I guess.
Yeah, but plenty of everything,
Right.
and plenty of time to do it.
Right.
I've been to 107 stone circles just in Aberdeenshire.
Wow. Right. I
So
think,
I'm going to now foist all of that onto you.
right. I thought that was rather underwhelming applause for an achievement of that magnitude, frankly.
But they are living in their own enclave, safe from
Right.
the rest of the world.
Come on, 107 stone circles. Thank you. Let's get it right. Let's get a proper measure of the enthusiasm. But but where did it begin? Why were you just kind of fascinated as a kid by wandering around those places?
And I just figured, okay, when I started, I thought, I don't know, all of my heroes that had like 4 years, Jim Morrison, Arthur Lee, Scott Walker, they had like 4-year careers. And I've had years and years to bask in the rock. And so I transferred my basking into other interests. When rock and roll becomes boring, other things become rock and roll. So I thought, what's the point in clothing my archaeological book in Wellington boots It's got to look like a progressive rock album.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, and I still cherish my signed copy to this day. He gave me orange and blue, wasn't it?
Orange and blue?
Orange
Come
and,
on.
Orange and blue.
Yeah.
And is it also right that you're working on another book which is a novel set in ancient Liverpool?
Now, if anybody wants to start throwing information my way, right, I'm writing this book, and part of it takes place in prehistoric Liverpool. Liverpool is part of a grand sea empire.
Right.
That stretches all the way to Dublin Bay, all the way to the north to Loch Crinan in Scotland, and it also centres around the Isle of Man. And so if anybody thinks that I'm going to, miss stuff out, give me the nod, because this is going to be the most replete novel of antiquity ever.
What is it, a sort of Scouse Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or something, is it?
Now, it'd be much more than that.
Right, okay.
Do you know what about Lord of the Rings? I was coming away with a bad taste in my mouth of like Oin and Loin and Boyne, and they're very unfinished characters, whereas I'm going to base every one of mine around old Liverpool characters from the scene.
Beautiful. Yeah. I once came out from watching one of the Lord of the Rings films behind a bloke and his girlfriend, and he said to her, did you enjoy it? And she said, well, I thought it was a bit far-fetched. At what point? At what point did you realise this was not a documentary, I was okay with it until the trees started talking, and then, you mentioned Scott Walker. I mean, you've got your Noi T-shirt on. You were a voice in the wilderness for a long time, for things like Krautrock. Sid Barrett, you're a big champion of when he was not at all fashionable. And particularly Scott Walker, when you put together that Godlike Genius the compilation.
When I first started bigging up Scott Walker, my detractors were like baying and poking me with sticks. But the great thing about Scott Walker was that his albums were all lying around Aigburth Road and up in Whitechapel, and they were like 80p. When a Doors album was £1.40, Scott albums were 80p. And he proved himself right, didn't he? What a contrary artiste.
I mean, in a sense, there's an arc that you've followed like him, isn't it? From kind of, pop hits into sort of stranger worlds.
Yes, but mine was more accidental.
Right.
I think that he was good at being a pop star for quite a decent amount of time, whereas my life was falling to pieces the week before we got in the charts.
Right.
It's true.
We should say that let's mention this, which is the new epic poem from
Julian. The new epic
Cope.
poem, Antiquera. My company, Head Heritage, has got Head Heritage Press now. So we're putting out... This is an epic poem that people won't realise they need it until they hear it. It's unfortunately not the kind of thing to have heavy rotation. It's a bit exhausting. It's I always wanted Brian Blessed to play me.
Right, yeah, well, a very like-for-like casting.
I think so, and I also like the idea that somebody older than me should play me.
Yeah.
And he's such a, but this is as close as to Brian Blessed as I've ever got, I think.
Right, okay. Should we going to have one last song, I think?
Yeah.
Aren't we? What are you going to do for the last one?
This is a song that I'm going to do. It's for the next album, which is tentatively called at the moment Altered Statesman.
All right, good title.
It will be psychedelic.
Yeah.
But this is a song that takes place round these parts.
Right.
And it's about me as a ghoul in hundreds of years, stomping up and down. And you'll see me because I've picked such a Joey Ramone cartoon image that I only have to pass your way once and the ether laps me up. So this is a song called You Will Be Missed.
M-I-S-T.
You will be missed, M-I-S-T.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
Let's turn the keyboard down just a notch, please. Mist covering Sefton Park, mist covering coldest stones when you die. You will be missed when you die. You will be missed. Mist covering the Thingwall Mount, mist covering the Mersey shore when you die. You will be missed. You die. You will be missed. When the loud sound is coming on, when my time appears I will be strong, for I know that I've been moving on. I'm strong. Mist covering coldest stones, mist covering Sefton Park when you die. You will be missed when you die. You will be missed when you die. You will be missed.
Thank you.
You Will Be Missed by Julian Cope. Listen, there's lots of great stuff on here. We could talk all day, but our time here is up. And so as we hand back to Stuart on air in the other studio, your appreciation, please, for Julian Cope.
Lots of love.
The legend that is Julian Cope, the Archdruid. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Julian. We've got live music from Snapped Ankles very soon. And because it is live, there may be some strong language. We're at the Camp and Furnace at Six Music Festival in Liverpool. Is a left field.